Welcome to your Retreat Workbook. To begin, I want you to pay attention to the first 17 pages. In these 17 pages, you are being welcomed to fall into some very core pieces of routine and rhythm that can help you be in more easeful state. And so we talk about the flow of our day on retreat. I don't know if it's something that you can actually apply to life, but it will give you some core practices to start implementing and then noticing. So you might be doing just a small meditation. You might not have time and the luxury of being able to go to a beach and watching a sunrise for an hour every day for a week. But in case you can, take this retreat workbook on vacation with you and do it on vacation. Then I would like you to connect to movement. Notice how it feels to be in movement and notice how movement affects your being. So basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to find evidence-based results in your own body for meditation, for movement, for breath practices. And you'll have inquiry questions for each of these, rhythmic eating, and finally an evening practice of nidra, journaling, body scans, anything that sort of closes off your day and allows you to see the results of a very mindful day. And that's what the first 17 pages of this workbook gives you. Now, I want to talk about the key principles. When we're on retreat, I like to sort of have a word that we wrap our day around and understand how that word is embodied in us, the kinds of things that help us be in alignment and the kinds of things that bring us out of alignment with these really rich, beautiful pieces of vocabulary that don't really exist in the English language. So the first word that is sort of a key pillar in the Year of You and everything I do is the word Ojas. And this word Ojas means vitality. I always describe it as capacity. It's your capacity to hold life. Your ability to have the energy, the vitality, the immunity, the strength, the balance, the flexibility to be able to fit in everything in your day that you would like to fit in. And your Ojas depends on the physical ability of your body to keep going. So it's almost like your battery. Are you the Energizer bunny that can just go on and on and on and on? Or do you feel like you've got three things and you can do these things, and after you do these three things that your body doesn't have the capacity to do anymore? So Ojas is about paying attention to your capacity. And once you understand your own capacity, then you have to start to pay attention to what refills your battery. What do you need to plug into to help the battery rise? And what depletes it? What things sort of deplete the battery really quick, really fast, rendering you useless on the couch? A lot of self-care practices really fuel our Ojas and help us be more aligned with it. It's about nourishing your body so that you can grow the container, because these next couple of concepts require your container to be really hardy and strong. And when you do the journaling exercises for Ojas, I want you to pay attention to your Ojas self-assessment and just go through it and notice how these words, strength, balance, immunity, vitality, capacity, feel for you. I want you to notice if they feel like, oh yeah, I've got access to that, or if they feel a little bit, I don't know, that feels a bit off, because it's sort of like doing a self-assessment. And then there's 4 really key journal questions to help you notice what is happening with your own Ojas. Got it? Okay. The next one is Prana. And Prana is about that life force, the life force energy that sort of comes in from the universe. It is our inhale, the inspiration that comes into our body. Prana is what enlivens this physical body and brings it to life. And we can't exist without prana. It is required for us to sort of have vitality inside of this container that we have. So prana helps light the fire inside of us. It helps ignite inspiration. It helps move through us, bringing clarity and access to that higher self, access to that divine wisdom, access to feeling inspired, feeling creative, feeling synergistic. So when you come to this word prana, I want you to think about your breath, the life force energy that comes into you, and if the breath feels expansive, if it feels full, if it feels unrestricted, or does it feel small? Does it feel short? Does it feel tight? Does it feel strained in any way? And paying attention to that can help you know the ability of this body to hold. So if the breath doesn't feel like it can be really big, why? Why not? And how can we help you access that deeper, bigger breath? So the self-assessment in the journal pages around prana help you understand how to connect to prana and what things in your life feel like you are innately in line or aligned with good prana, and then what things block it altogether. When you start noticing your breath, it is your biggest teacher. So you will pay attention to it nicely. Okay, let's move on to Tejas. Do you like the turkeys that are walking in the background? Crazy. Just turkeys going for a stroll. Tejas. So Tejas is fire. I apologize for the guy who's leaf blowing in the background. Tejas is your fire. And Tejas is your motivation. It is your spark. It is the transformation. It is your digestive system for sure, because your digestive system is what is transforming that food into nutrients and waste and choosing what it needs. But Tejas also digests all your life experiences. So it takes all your life experiences in, and it pulls the nourishing parts of those life experiences in, and it tries its hardest to sort of shed the things that are not supportive of you. Tejas wants to be very discerning. It helps you know what your yes is, and it helps you know what your no is. And when Tejas works well, it transforms that prana that's coming in. It transforms that life force energy into ojas, into capacity to live your life. So you're looking for good ojas. You're looking to transform that Tejas and help it build this solid structure that's capable of living a really, really big, huge life. When we talk about capacity to hold, we think of these three things as like the candle, the flame, and then the air that moves through. So if you want your fire to be really big, you can't have a tea light as your container. Your container has to be bigger than that. It has to be like a nice big fire pit that can host a really beautiful big bonfire. And then the airflow can't be restricted, because fire needs a good airflow to get going. And the thing is that these three are synergistic. They have to work together. They have to go symbiotically. One can't grow without the other two. So the fire can't get big without the container and the prana. The container can't get big without the fire and the prana, without the Tejas and the breath. And the breath can't get big, right? So they have to work together. And when you start to understand the symbiosis of this, then you start to be able to see it in your own body and to know the things that light you up and the things that put your fire out. So when you come to do the journal pages for Tejas, you're going to be really looking at the way that you can curate Tejas, the way that you can curate fire, motivation, a spark of inspiration, passion, capacity to sort of do and keep going and building, And it's almost like your drive. You wanna have a bit of drive. And really the whole point as we come into this journal, as we come into retreat, as we come into these journal practices, is to be in self-awareness, to be really noticing over this week that we're in retreat, or if you're doing this workbook, as a daily practice to sort of check in on yourself. How is my life aligning to support these key principles of becoming the biggest, best version of myself? Because you were designed to be that biggest, best version of yourself. And our goal would be to figure out how you can be in alignment with that version of yourself. I have 2 more words in the workbook. One of them is viveka. And viveka is the word to me that means keen discernment. It is an extension of that word tejas, because tejas is discernment. Fire is very discerning. It knows what it wants. But viveka brings you, in my mind, to that idea of understanding where your energy's leaking and you're people pleasing and you're saying yes when you shouldn't say yes and you're saying no when you should say yes. And viveka is this next step of protecting and honoring your Ojas, Tejas, Prana, because that keen discernment is necessary for you to be in good relationship with yourself. And so there's a viveka, self-assessment, in the journal. The last word that we worked on retreat this year was the word svasta. And svasta simply means seated comfortably in yourself. That's how yoga describes it. So when you are alone with yourself, you don't need to numb, you don't need to distract. You're perfectly happy being in your own company, and you enjoy sort of being with yourself. And svasta in Ayurveda means health. So when you are congruent, when your mind, your body, and your spirit are all sort of in agreement, in congruence, you have not only health, but you are seated comfortably in yourself. And that would be the end goal of Ojas, Tejas, Prana. That would be the end goal of viveka, would be to bring you to a place where you are in alignment with self, in harmony with self. And so we do a little bit of assessment, I guess, self-assessment on what svasta feels like to us. The paradigm shift I feel like is happening in the world right now is away from external solutions. Our world feels like it is running out of our external solutions. It's still trying to sell us, quite a few of them, but the more we tap into self, the more healing we have available to us. So regardless of how you are curating and gathering and building a support system around you of those external solutions, keep doing that. Keep building a good network, a good safety net of external support around yourself, but know that real healing happens when you and you are in right relationship. And that's our goal, is to be in right relationship. That's the final part of this retreat workbook, is when I'm asking you, how will you take this awareness now back into your life? How will you integrate this into your daily rhythm when you're off this beautiful island, no longer watching a sunset on the beach in the morning, but back in rhythm? How do you take these lessons, this awareness, and make it part of every day? So until retreat, until you can practice it in Hawaii, take this workbook and play with it at home or on a self-retreat or on whatever availability you have to be in relationship with yourself, whatever time you can carve out, and enjoy.